It's late October. I'm in my pallet greenhouse and I'm gonna plant some radishes. At the beginning of September, I had actually planted radishes outdoors. I figured that was going to be around my last harvest of radishes for the year. Figured it'd start getting a little difficult to grow them outside. I could try and grow them in the greenhouse. I just recently recovered the greenhouse that was damaged due to Hurricane Ida, and if you didn't see that video of me putting the new cover on, I'll link to it over here. But I'm going to try something new now. I'm going to try and grow my radishes indoors. I don't know, during the daytime it gets blazing hot in here, and as you saw in that greenhouse video, Mrs. Rugged Homestead didn't want to be in here too long helping me cover it just because it got so freaking hot in here. And it was well over 100 degrees in here. Like, you walked in, you couldn't even breathe, it was so hot. So I don't really think that would be conducive to growing radishes. The temperatures are also dipping down low into the 40s. So I think there might be problems with germination and things like that. So as I said, what I'm gonna try and do, I'm gonna try and grow them indoors. Typically when I start my vegetables indoors in the springtime, I use the Barina grow lights. Those are the full spectrum lights, the ones that cast that pinkish light that kills your eyes. This time I'm going to try something different. I've partnered with SGLEDS, and I'm going to be testing out their grow light. It casts a bright daylight light that I want to see if it'll allow me to grow the radishes indoors under that. So this was my radish attempt at the beginning of September, and as you can see, they really didn't do all that well. Now maybe the soil was too rich or something. Like, these were French breakfast radishes. They're actually one of my favorite radishes because they don't have that heat to them. And this actually doesn't look like a French breakfast. This looks like a what are they called? It's either a Cherry Belle or something like that. But as you can see, no matter what variety it was, they just didn't do well. Now, like I said, the soil was reclaimed soil, and I didn't put any amendments into it, only because when you do that, you get a lot of greenery and no radish. And so maybe the soil was still too rich. I don't know. So I've got different soil that I'm going to be using now. And I'm only going to plant a couple just to see if it's going to work. So I'm going to probably plant like 4 or 5 in this pot of soil. And I'm going to try these Crimson Giants. As you can see in the back there, I've got the French breakfast. But I'm going to try and grow the Crimson Giants. What I like to do with these is actually bake them and use them as a potato substitute. Tastes really good when you grow them like that. So I'm going to, as I said, plant 4 or 5 seeds in this container of soil. And then I'm going to grow it under the SGLED grow light. And we're going to see how this works. And if it works really well, I just might be outfitting my entire grow station with these bulbs. Planting radishes doesn't require any special skill, typically. So I'm going to wet the soil and let it soak in a bit. Just wet a little bit more. And then I'm just going to make a 1/4-inch divot in the ground, in the soil. Radish seeds are pretty easy to work with, relatively large, enough to hold on to, not like carrots or something like that, or lettuce. but I'm going to put 2 seeds in each hole and then barely cover them and just firm them in. Now it's ready to go. Might give it a little more water. And now I'm going to grow it underneath this grow lamp. Now in my basement, I actually have a softbox lamp that I've used for making video and stuff like that. And I'm going to screw it into that rather than just use like one of those clamp-on lamps or even a regular fixture. I'll be putting it into the softbox, and I'll be able to lower that pretty close over the bulbs, over the seeds, the seedlings as they grow, and then be able to raise it up over time. And within a month or so, we should get pretty quick results, which is why I'm going to use radish seeds, because they are such a quick crop to grow. I'll get the results right away to how the lamp will work come springtime. So we'll check in back when they sprout and as they grow over the coming weeks. Okay, let's take a look at the SGLEDS bulb. It's a 36 watt grow lamp bulb, which is a 400 watt equivalent. As you can see, it's got 7 LEDs, super bright. It's a full spectrum bulb, and as I've said, I like the fact that it's got the regular socket base in it, so you can just screw it into any socket and set it up. Really helpful, I think, with a one of those clamp-on lights, because they obviously have the regular socket in them. So you can use one of those clamp-on work light bases and then use that to shine this down onto your plants. So it's a sturdy construction, solid plastic here, and really looks a quality build. It took a little bit more than a week for the seeds to germinate, probably because they were in my basement and it's a little bit cooler down there. It's about 10 days or so, but here they are. They've sprouted, and I neglected to put them under the light right away, so they're stretching for the sky a little bit. This is the softbox setup that I have. What I like about the SGLED is that it's got the regular base on the bulb, so you can just screw it right into a traditional outlet socket. And so it's got the silver wrap around it, so it should keep it nice and bright all around it. Like I said, I was a little late in putting the light on the seeds. Here it is, week 2. And they've started putting on some growth and some leaves. They're looking healthy and doing well underneath the spotlight. It looks like only 3 or 4 seeds have germinated. Oh, and it wasn't the giant radish that I planted. I went back to the French breakfast only because I wanted to compare it to those September radishes that I grew in that soil and make a comparison. We're into week 3 now, and you can see they've put on some growth, and they're even starting to swell a little bit. At least one of them is, but still looking healthy, and looks like they're responding well to the light. Like the light's providing the light source that it needs. Week 4. And as you can see, they're starting to fill out both leaf-wise and radish-wise. They've all swelled up nicely, and they're looking pretty good. I think they've responded well to growing underneath this light so far. I mean, look at the foliage, nice deep green. So it doesn't look like they're starving for any light. Still growing in week 5. Not a problem here. They're filling out, getting plump. and not doing too bad. I've neglected them a little bit, but otherwise they're doing okay. By week 6, they didn't seem like they were really growing anymore, so I decided it was time to harvest. Probably could have harvested them the week before. And as you can see, there's that little bit of neglect that I was talking about with these plants. Sometimes I would forget to water them, and but otherwise they were doing quite well, being neglected, just growing under the grow light with nothing really but water. And when I remember to water it. So here they are. I've harvested. One small one came up, didn't quite sprout there. Uh, it was probably a late bloomer, uh, and a smaller one. And you can see the yellowing leaves there, so it's getting on in time. But they look like they've did pretty good compared to uh, radishes that I grew in September in the planter box. These have done much better, filled out, probably overwatered them there at one point trying to compensate. So the bulb worked out real well, and you can find it on Amazon. I'll have a link to the product below, and there's a 20% off coupon there. So just click that box and you get 20% off the price of the grow lamp. Okay, thanks for watching.